3, hit it!
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to today's Caffeine for the Soul. And if you like the kinds of stuff I talk about in this podcast each week, check out our free basic course in living from the inside out, michaelneill.org/basic course. Now, if you're wondering if you qualify to be a recovering intellectual, I'm going to share a poem with you. And this was a poem that I learned as a little kid. And see if you remember this poem from when you were a little kid. Scintillate, scintillate, globule vivific. Fain would I fathom thy nature specific. Distantly poised in the ether capacious, closely resembling a gem carbonaceous. Scintillate, scintillate, globule vivific. Fain would I fathom thy nature specific. Now, if you didn't recognize that, it's twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Scintillate, scintillate, globule vivific, fain would I fathom thy nature specific. So, if that makes sense to you, you're probably one of us. You're probably somebody who learned early on the pleasures of the intellect, the delights of the mind, of the intellectual mind. But you may or may not have discovered the cost that comes not with learning to use your intellect, but with letting your intellect run the show. It is so common as to be a cliche that the miserable intellectual, the person who's absolutely brilliant in their mind and absolutely hopeless at life. And it sometimes looks like you have a choice. You can be, street smart, but kind of an idiot, or you can be brain smart, but kind of an idiot when it comes to living. And neither one of those is how it is. It's just that when we don't realize that the intellect makes a wonderful servant but a terrible master, we begin to process the entire world through it. And the intellect is not made to be processed through a computer, even a supercomputer. It's made to be experienced in the body. Now, if you have switched off by now, you're not hearing this. But if you've mentally switched off and gone, okay, this one scintillates, what is he talking about? Then I'll encourage you to bear with, not because you need to, you're not an intellectual, so you wouldn't understand that. No, we all have an intellect, and we've simply learned what role to give it in our lives. And some people, if they were taught they don't have much of an intellect, they were just, okay, I'm just not going to do that. And other people were taught, this is what makes me who I am. But your intellect is not you. It is not who you are. It's not even a badge of honor. It is a tool that we are all born with. And some of us were taught to sharpen that tool early on. But most of us were not taught to not let the tool use us. Most of us were never taught that a spreadsheet probably isn't the optimal tool to use to have a great marriage or raise happy, healthy children. Most of us who were raised to enjoy wordplay and crossword puzzles and cleverness were not taught that those very same things are anathema to instinct. They let us talk ourselves into and out of our knowing. They become the all and everything of our world, and we become obsessed with data and information at the cost of knowledge and understanding. So, if you don't think of yourself as somebody who particularly uses your intellect in that way, this may not be relevant to you, but I find more often than not that even people who don't think of themselves as intellectual will spend huge chunks of time trying to figure out what to do with life, trying to figure out what they're supposed to do, trying to figure out what they're meant to do or how they're supposed to do things. That is that figuring out thing. That's the intellect. Now, those of you who've learned to be an intellect, I am an intellect. That is who I am. I am an intellectual. I come to the world with my intellect first. You already know at some level how it's a double-edged sword, that sharpness of mind. Or not. I've met people who just don't understand why. Well, I'm so smart. Why can't I figure out life? I'm so smart. Why can't I figure out business? I'm so smart. Why can't? It's because you think you're so smart. Now, I'm not even saying you're not. You probably are. But that's not the right tool for the job. You can have the most beautiful, perfectly designed, ideally weight-balanced screwdriver, and it's not going to do you all that much good if you're trying to hammer in nails. So, how do you make the shift from overuse of the intellect to appropriate use, from identifying with the intellect to seeing that the intellect is just one of the many tools you have to navigate life? It's as simple as beginning to notice the cost, beginning to notice the benefits. Now, again, the choice isn't have one or don't, use it or don't, be an idiot or be a genius. The choice is, in any moment, is this the best tool for the job? Now, I first got this in a conversation with one of my coaches in this understanding. And she was saying to me that she thought that probably I was overusing my intellect. And I, of course, intellectually completely disagreed with her. And, and I said, no, hang on. Now, my intellect is my edge. You're asking me to give up my edge. I'm not going to give up my edge. I mean, I at the time was hosting a national radio show. And so, I said, look, the reason my show is successful is because I'm so sharp and I can cut straight to the core of my listeners' questions. And she said, well, I've listened to your show and I really like it, but I don't think that's why it's successful. And I was like, okay, well, what do you think? And she said, I think people feel your warmth and they're willing to put up with your intellect. I'd never considered that, but it had the ring of truth to it. And what I quickly realized is that my intellect was a sword without a hilt. Every time I wielded it, yes, it could cut through people's problems and cut to the heart of things. But it was cutting my hand as I was holding it. And what I'm encouraging you to do is notice, where is your intellect helping you? And where is it getting in the way of your own natural knowing and the simplicity and common sense at the heart of a life well lived? Have fun, learn heaps, happy exploring, and I'll talk with you soon.